Hello everyone, hope you're doing well. It's time to have a look at a, I suppose, kind of special slash event that Gaijin are doing for National Foundation Day in Japan. They're doing a ton of different discounts on different vehicles, and also there's a decal available which can be got in the game by basically just playing some games for Japan. So just to give you a list of all the vehicles on offer, by the way, there's some pack vehicles on offer here, and also some GE vehicles that are returning, which is kind of nuts. If you want to purchase anything, make sure to use my partner code in the description. You'll get yourself a discount, the decal, and of course you'll support the channel as well. So 50% off on certain packs, the Type 16 FPS, the F-4EJ Phantom II ADTW, the Yamashiro, and also the Japanese starter pack. We'll go through all of these vehicles and my general thoughts on them, and we'll go through a little vehicle review for each of them. But understand, it's very hard to find a better offer in War Thunder than 50% off a pack. So if you want any of these, this is a perfect opportunity to pick them up. For GE, they are bringing back the Kiyoshimo and also the A6M5 Ko. Both of these vehicles are going to be back between the 8th of February to the 13th of February, so you have about 5 days to decide if you want these vehicles. And also, the discounts on the packs are also going from the 8th of February until the 13th too. The other vehicle that they're also bringing back is the Type 74G. Now, this one is back for good, so it's going to be here to stay even after the event is over, so you don't have to pick it up now, because later on it will be on sale, probably in the GE stuff, whether it's the May sale or whether it's the November sale. So don't feel pressured on that one. All of the other offers are temporary when it comes to what's there. So, the decal as well is the Dancing Cranes, and this is available from the 8th of February to the 13th too. All you got to do is play 3 battles using Japanese vehicles to receive the Dancing Cranes. It looks really nice and definitely worth having a look at. I've been playing the Type 99 recently, and it's been a blast. Right, let's have a look at the vehicles that are on offer and give some opinions. The first vehicle on offer is the Type 16 FPS. This is a high-tier premium, which of course is available for the Japanese. It's pretty much a copy of the Type 16P with a little bit of bush on it. The vehicle itself is highly mobile. It has very good thermals, a lovely 50 cal, and also at the same time has the stabilizer, has the scouting, has everything that you would want, even an LWS LR at this BR. The only thing that it actually misses out on is it doesn't have a crazy powerful APF SDS like the standard Type 16, which is why the standard Type 16 is a different BR. Instead, it only has the M735. Now, the M735 is not a bad round, but it did get nerfed quite heavily recently, meaning that if you get into up tiers, which this thing will, because a lot of the premiums that were just sold were the Leopard 2A4 and also the M1 KVT, which are around 10.3, it can be a little bit rough. As somebody who recently spaded the KPZ 70, which is at 9.3, you do get into quite a lot of those matches, and it can be pretty tough to actually do damage to these things. Now, the Type 16 FPS does have scouting, it does have thermals to get around that, and also has some quite trolley armor because of its angles that it has access to, but understand this thing will struggle in full up tiers to take MBTs on front forward, so you have to have the passive scouting playstyle to be able to get it done. Is it a good vehicle? Yes, and definitely very fun, and at the same time, at least you have a pseudo lineup around it with the Type 93 and also the standard Type 16P. If you've never played the Type 16s, by the way, they are incredibly fun and definitely worth a go, just because of their rapid mobility and also their lower tier, very powerful thermals. The F-4EJ ADTW is also on sale. This is pretty much the only vehicle that's available at higher ranks for Japan to be able to grind the whole tech tree with. So if you want, I suppose, a premium to do that, you can pick this thing up. For me, it's not really worth it just because of the state of the kind of Japanese tech tree. Or you can use it as a bomb truck, since that seems to be what F4s in general are used for nowadays. It does have access to AIM-9Ps, which is quite nice, and also has access to AIM-7Es, but compared to what other nations are packing, this really isn't a great air-to-air armament at this BR. You know, at 11.3, you start running into stuff like the MiG-23M, which has access to 6 R60Ms, and you have, you know, the M7Es, which are quite nice, but also the radar itself isn't as powerful as other radars that you'll see around the place. This one right here, the AN/APQ-120, it's a completely fine, you know, radar, but it's one of those which isn't as good as what you see. It does have the 20mm, which is good, and also has, you know, the standard J79 G17s. So if you want to use it as a bomb truck and then also carry missiles afterwards, you can do. You know, a lot of people during the winter event were using the Phantoms to be able to do this, and you'll efficiently get score. But at the same time, you're not going to be carrying games, and you're also not really going to be, you know, doing a ton. You're just going to be doing things on autopilot, hitting bases with the bombs, and then using the missiles. It doesn't get access to the to some of the other armaments that other F4s get access to, but it does get access to the rockets, so you can at least rocket bases if you want, or in simulator just do that and go around. So if you want to efficiently grind out the Japanese tree, I suppose you can pick this thing up, but it's going to be very boring. And I think there's a lot of vehicles in the Japanese air tree which are a lot more fun than this one. The Yamashiro is also on offer. It obviously is the Fuso class battleship that's available for Japan. It has a lot of guns on it, you know, the good old 6 dual 360s, and then also it has the 150s in these little kind of belts here. Then also the 80mm and a bunch of torpedoes on the vehicle as well. The torpedoes being in some quite awkward places around these areas here. So for me, when I look at, you can see the torpedo tube here. When I look at this vehicle, it's a very, very bog standard battleship. It doesn't really have anything that kind of sets it apart from the rest, and it does have, of course, the pretty poor reload rate for the 356mm, but it does have good penning rounds and decent explosive mass behind them. So the vehicle itself, if you want to get into, I suppose, high-tier naval without grinding, this one will obviously do that for you. It has very good rewards on it. You'll be able to print SL with it, and at the same time grind out the Japanese tech tree, which isn't really a bad one, if I'm honest. I've had quite a good time in the Japanese tech tree. So yeah, it's not terrible. It's just a bog standard battleship. There's nothing really to say about it. You know, if you are interested in Japanese naval, it's worth picking this one up because the other premium at this tier is it the Mogami or the Mikuma. The Mikuma is in a pretty rough place just because of BR decompression, but that may change, and you know, the top tier might go up to 7.3, so then it'll be in a better position. But right now, the Yamashiro is in the best position out of all. The Japanese starter pack has 2 pretty solid vehicles in it. I would say that the plane is actually better than the ground vehicle, though. The Chihi, which is this one here, is just a copy of the standard Chihi in the tech tree. And at 2.7, it has a bit of a problem, and that problem is the dominance of 3.7. So when you creep into 3.7, you have a lot of very powerful vehicles. It's where the T-34s start rolling, stuff like just very dominant Soviet vehicles, and also Shermans start rolling, and it can be kind of annoying, because all you have is this pea shooter against them. You have a gun which is vertically stabilized, meaning that you can get the shot off pretty much the first out of many, but you have this round, this APHE round, which only pens up to 77mm. Now, it does have quite a lot of explosive mass in it, even though it's quite small, and a very good reload, and also very good gun depression. So if you can get the gun on targets, and if you can pen stuff, you do very well. It usually only takes 1 or 2 shots to be able to deal with enemies. But the problem is, at certain BRs, it's really hard to pen stuff. So you're basically sat there just going, what do I do? And then with your mobility not being great on this thing, you know, it's not the best in the business, then it can be a little bit rough. What is at least good is this one is used quite a lot in the Japanese pages of history events, so if you do enjoy the page of history, this one's not a bad pickup for that, but I would definitely say the other parts of the starter pack is better than it. Just remember though, starter packs are the best value that you're going to get in the game. So never ever forget that. Starter packs give you, you know, 2 premiums usually, and also give you a premium account for 7 days and 127 or 120,000 SL. So the SL, you know, we don't really think about, or it might even be 1,200,000. But yeah, the SL I don't take into account, but the premium account pretty much pays for itself, and then you get the 2 bonus vehicles. So if you're thinking of getting something, the actual kind of starter pack's the way to go. So the Ki 44 134 is very powerful. It has a really nice gun setup of 2 12-7s and 2 7-7s. Thing about the Ki 44s is they have pretty good engines, and this means that they're able to actually climb really well and then go down on enemies and kind of annihilate them. It's a really nice setup for the Ki 44, and it has been this way for a long time, and it's just been really fun to play these vehicles. If you haven't played a Ki 44, highly recommend it. It also has a unique kind of shape that we don't really see in the game too much. But yeah, this is a jack of all trades vehicle, very similar to the early Ki 61s, where it can climb well, it can turn well, it has pretty decent armament to deal with people. It's well worth giving a go at. The other thing though is it doesn't have any secondaries, so you're relying on the guns, but it can work as a very good air superiority fighter in naval or ground, but its main hunting ground is definitely air and those general game modes. The Kiyoshimo is also back for GE for a few days, so this one is kind of interesting. It's a Yugamo, or Yugamo class I should say, and it has access to all the standard Yugamo stuff. So it has the 3 dual-mounted 127s, these ones have an okay fire rate and have quite a lot of HE, but they don't have any penetration, so what ends up happening is, especially against the kind of meta machines, you will just not do any damage, and you are hoping for ammo racks, and that's about it, which is really annoying. But it does have a ton of 25s on it, which for me, I don't really like 25s. I think generally they're not very good guns to be able to deal with threats coming in. Never really had 25mm save me when it comes to any of this stuff, so that kind of sucks. But it does have 16 Type 93 Model 3 torpedoes. So these ones right here, these are not as good as the standard like long lances that are around. The Model 3s only go 15 kilometers, but most of the engagement ranges you'll have will be 15 kilometers or less in the Kiyoshimo, since it faces mainly destroyers. So you can actually create a wall of torps, which is really nice with this vehicle. Also, if you play Naval Arcade, basically, you know, you get the torpedo reload. So you're able to create kind of a wave of torpedoes and then kind of go again. So what I like doing with these Japanese ships is I like kind of going off on an angle from the general map and then seeing down sight lines and firing the torpedoes down the sight lines, and then on a reload kind of do it again. And then also at the same time, while doing that, just lumping some HE, whether it is at lighter targets or at targets which I know fires, and also just taking out different turrets will actually, you know, kind of annihilate their chances. So since it doesn't have AP on its guns, it is really annoying. But it does have a good torpedo suite on it. Not as good as some other Japanese vehicles, may I say, but it's a completely fine vehicle. I would say it's probably not worth it though, just because of the cost right now. It's obviously better than the Yubari, but it isn't as good as the Udachi. The Udachi has the better torpedoes, and so does the Shimakaze, which is quite nice. 47 is also a tricky BR for Japan, because it has the Akizuki, which is quite fun, which also means it has the Hatsuzuki, which if you have it from War Thunder Mobile is quite fun, but you also have these starter cruisers, which are weird and don't really fit very well in the game. So these ones don't work too well, so it's probably better just running the Kiyoshimo and the destroyers. The A6M5 Ko is also back for a few days. This one is busted and has been for a long time, and it has been raised in BR I don't even know how many times. It also has a unique camo from DMM Games, which is kind of cool. So if you are interested in that exists. The vehicle itself is crazy, and the reason why it is crazy is because of the teams that you go up against. It has two 20mm guns, it has two 7.7s, you know, not a ton of firepower, but enough for what this thing is good at. So basically, what the A6M5 Ko does is it is one of the best defensive flyers in the game. This means that if you ever are in a scenario where somebody is on your tail, you can turn and you can kind of get them off it and then reset and annihilate the person when they've lost energy. It's perfect at doing it, very similar to the Spitfires and very similar to a lot of other Japanese planes, by the way, which has meant that this thing has gone up in BR a few times because of that, because people will not stop turn fighting it. If you stop turn fighting this thing and instead, after trying to, you know, hit it, reset, and then try and hit it again from a vertical, you will actually have such a much better time. But try teaching that. It's pretty much impossible nowadays for some reason in War Thunder. The other thing that the vehicle does have access to is it does actually have some ground ordnance. So if you want to use it in naval, if you want to use it in something else, you can do. So at least there's that. But yeah, this is a very, very powerful vehicle, but if somebody knows what they're doing against you, they are just going to run circles around you. So it's quite a dangerous pick right now, compared to some of the other options, such as the A7, which is kind of sat there. The Type 74G is back. This is the best version of the Type 74. It's very similar to the other ones. It has all of the niceties of them, such as the Mega Round, the Type 93 round, which is incredibly powerful for 9.3. It also has the LWSLR and smoke grenades and the hydrogen pneumatic suspension, which is quite nice. But the bonus that this one gets over the others, and why it's a high BR, is it gets Gen 1 thermals. So that makes it a little bit easier to play for people who struggle with that stuff. But pretty much everything else about it is exactly the same. So it doesn't really have great armor. Its mobility is okay, but it's loud. So it's very easy to hear coming. It does have a 50 cal, which isn't nice, and the standard L7 with the standard reload. And also the gun depression is fine, especially if you use hydrogen pneumatic suspension. It's quite nice using this vehicle alongside the Type 16, because you can use the Type 16 to kind of go forward and be aggressive at the start of the map, and then if it doesn't work out, you can always just go back and use the Type 74 instead. And that, to me, works fantastically well for the vehicle, and is a kind of good, kind of lumbering finisher to be able to get access to stuff. The Type 74 as well is able to research everything apart from these two at 100% efficiency, which is really nice, and it does have very good kind of stuff on it as well. Like, it does have nice rewards on it, and very similar to the Type 16 FPS. Running these two in a lineup, plus the Type 93, plus the Type 16P, and you can also run the Type 74s too, since they also had the Mega Round with them. It gives you just kind of a nice setup. You also have, of course, the Type 89, if you want kind of a standard Tech Tree Scout as well. So for me, I'd actually say this is a pretty good pickup, but not right now. I would wait until it's 50% off, since this one is back forever. Make sure to get yourself the decal that's available. You can find it in Holidays and the Founding of Japan. So get that done today. And as always, I hope you have a wonderful day. And I'll see you next time. I'd like to thank Schnitzel Stroker, Brendan Quinn, Vilneus, Character Fuel, Carrion Crow, Nicholas Richardson, Gus Irenicus, Pyman, Wartinder, Teddy, Daniel Stanton, B. Young, Opium Prime, Masonocrat, Lafouche, Alan Hacker, Sem Arslan, Uncle Bean, and Derek R. for supporting the channel.